Hey, man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but turns out the golden age of TTRPGs is dead. We are watching a bright and special time in the TTRPG industry pass away before our very eyes. No, I really wouldn't say so, but that is the big story on Twitter last week. Like, this is old news. This is a hot take that I think has already been cooled down. But I was hearing more about this in Mike Shea, aka Sly Flourish's latest weekly talk show episode, and it really apparently has some glaring factual errors, but also some interesting talking points, so I thought it would be worth reading through and sharing this with you, so let's just jump in. And by the way, I'm Bob. This is where we learn how to have more fun playing RPGs together, and this tweet comes from Ben Riggs, who I don't know a lot about, but I know he's written at least one pretty cool book because I had just happened to see a review about it. So that was a really interesting video. I will link that down in the description while we continue reading this thread. So from the beginning, Golden Age of TTRPGs is dead, bright time passing before our eyes, etc., etc. Around the start of the 2010s, we saw the dawn of a new golden age of tabletop role-playing games. Since then, huge numbers of new players found the hobby thanks to Stranger Things and actual plays like Critical Role. So that's the 2015, 2016 timeline there. And these new fans discovered a vibrant and thrumming TTRPG industry. There was the D20 Fantasy family of games, dominated by D&D 5e, mentions a bunch of other publishers and systems here. This influx of gamers created a rising tide that lifted all boats, and I definitely agree with that. Novice gamers started out playing D&D 5e, yes, but went on to discover other great games. Because of the increasing number of gamers, even strange, freaky, or weird TTRPG ideas could find an audience. As a passionate supporter of Skate Wizards RPG, I fully agree. But recent developments made it clear that this radiant golden age is ending as surely as the steam engine ended the age of the sail, or the hobbits bearing a ring ended the third age of Middle-earth. The doom of our time approaches. Just so we're clear on the tone of this Twitter thread. In the wake of the open gaming license scandal of this past winter, as in beginning of 2023, a number of companies have successfully launched new TTRPGs intended to move them past the possibility of Wizards of the Coast ever threatening their businesses ever again. True, some of these games gross millions in crowdfunding campaigns, all have been positively reviewed, I guess, and some, I would put myself in this category, cite the success of these games which are intended to replace, I wouldn't say they're intended to replace 5e/the OGL, necessarily. I guess things like Tales of the Valiant literally meant to replace D&D 5e, but supporting 5e in the same way. Anyway, as signs of the continued health and growth of the TTRPG industry. That's what I was agreeing with there. My mind kind of jumped to that last line. I think the success of many new games are signs of the continued growth of the TTRPG industry, but apparently they're not. Rather, they are signs that the industry has peaked and may be about to enter a decline. Why? After the open gaming license crisis of 2023, I became pessimistic. So immediately jumping into opinions on why. That's fine. I guess this whole thing is an opinion. But this doesn't indicate actual signs. Pessimistic about the damage the attempt to kill the OGL had done to our hobby. Others told me that the result of the crisis would be blooming of 1,000 flowers. Maybe every single one of those new TTRPGs is going to be amazing. Maybe everyone will be so fun and so captivating that lawns will go unmowed, pets unfed, and diapers unchanged because we are all so busy playing one of those games. The problem is that the TTRPG business is devilishly difficult. Only very rarely does the creation of a phenomenal game actually lead to financial success. Okay, sure, this makes sense. And the death of the OGL and the creation of these games has fundamentally changed the industry in such a way that it will be harder for those companies to make money in the future. A difficult business is about to become more difficult. And I think the premise here has some merit, but it's assuming a line of thinking I've seen in other aspects of the TTRPG community, where it's people assume the pie is only this big. And so if we break it into all these slices, that's less and less for everybody. So we're under the assumption that the community cannot grow anymore. That by creating all these new games, even if they're really awesome, all it will do is fracture the community. And I think that's fundamentally wrong. Things can grow more, especially as new games draw in new communities of people who might not have played D&D, but maybe they'll try MCDM or Tales of the Valiant or the Avatar RPG or the Stormlight RPG coming out next year. But I'm getting way off track, we'll jump back in. You could use the work of all these companies at your table. This made it easier for companies to share customers. Yeah, again, Critical Role has dropped 5e like a dead cockroach. Just in case you're not aware, Critical Role's main show, the one they're known for, with hundreds of thousands of people watching, 500,000 plus people, I think, watching every single video, that's 5e. It's not Daggerheart, it's not Candela Obscura. It has not been dropped like a cockroach. And of course, there's the Rising Godzilla that is the 6th edition D&D, which scientists say will attack our shores in the spring of 2024. So far, no hint of an OGL for whatever that game will be. But we've been promised, also made a video about this, that the SRD will be updated to include the new material. Technically no sign of it yet, because they said it wouldn't come until after the game is published. So correct, but with the wrong implication. Okay, and this is where he summarizes the point that I thought we arrived at a lot earlier, but these new games are a shattering of that community. And like I said earlier, I disagree. And then it looks like he's really drilling down on that point even further. And then all this has happened before. So now pulling on some of his expertise, I think, in having written that book about the downfall of TSR. Okay, several more tweets about the fracturing. Furthermore, what will happen to the YouTube channel that is the foundation of MCDM's success? Matt Colville is a master communicator, and he was a major evangelist for D&D in his channel's heyday. But this is also, I almost have to take this a little personally, because it's saying, what would we do without Matthew Colville's one YouTube channel? Because there are no other YouTube channels about role-playing games, surely. But I agree, Matt Colville is passionate, intelligent, and inspiring. But I feel like even Matt Colville wouldn't necessarily, I don't know if he would put his channel on the pedestal that this guy's putting his channel on. Not to mention that Critical Role, a huge reason for the recent surge in D&D popularity, is likewise stopping their support for D&D. Just this one's factually incorrect. Have not stopped their support for D&D. Yeah, saying they're asking their 2.1 million YouTube subscribers to start playing one of their other 2 new games instead. Never, ever, ever has anyone from Critical Role said to stop playing D&D and to play either of their games instead. Not true. And even if it were true, this is assuming that all 2.1 million subscribers of Critical Role actually play D&D. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true by a wide margin. Okay, what the future might look like. And if I'm right, this is how the golden age of TTRPGs dies. Things follow naturally from these events. Here are my predictions, prophecies, that I may be held accountable for. My rashness is all in writing. So 6th edition will not do as well as 5e. Not a bold claim at all. Of course it won't do as well as 5e. Again, it is just an update of 5e, but 5e also practically coincided with the birth and momentous mainstream popularity of Stranger Things. We're not going to get another Stranger Things. Even if the hot new season of Stranger Things came out the same month as the new Player's Handbook, it's not going to do the same as that new popularity of Stranger Things with the new popularity of 5e all at the same time. No MCDM RPG crowdfunding campaign will ever do better than this initial campaign to fund its TTRPG. Also, of course, a core rulebook is always the best-selling book of any RPG. And yes, I would love to be proven wrong. It would be so cool if when they eventually publish that big bestiary or something for MCDM RPG, it blows their original book out of the water. That would be an amazing success. But claiming that won't happen is not a earth-shattering statement. Kobold Press's post-OGL game, Tales of the Valiant, has been criticized for being too similar to 5e. For Kobold Press, I see 2 futures. Perhaps they will slowly bleed fans in the same way MCDM will. But if D&D 6th edition is too different and people don't really want to move on from 5e, Kobold has positioned themselves to be the next Paizo and Tales of the Valiant the next Pathfinder. I feel like these are actually the same future for Kobold Press and Tales of the Valiant. Their core book will be the most popular thing, and for people who want to move on from official D&D products because of the many scandals that have happened over the course of this year, they can go to Tales of the Valiant and play pretty much the same game, but with none of that baggage. That's cool. That's a good thing. And this is an interesting one. The frequency of $1 million TTRPG Kickstarters will decrease attendance at major gaming conventions will plateau. So for the second point, no idea about conventions, but these $1 million Kickstarters. So I'd say this one is the main one so far that I'm really unsure about. And then this one's just sad. TTRPGs will become less interesting, less exciting, less creative, and despite all the new systems, it will also grow less diverse. Yeah, now I feel like this is really trying to have it both ways. Is it fractured and becoming more diverse, or becoming less diverse? I feel like this is unaffected as well, because people making interesting, exciting, and creative games didn't care whatever the mainstream thing was in the first place. So they're just going to keep doing that. What could change this grim future? I suppose a group of publishers coalescing around a single system. This was my thought when the OGL thing happened. I was like, whoa, what if all the big 5e publishers came together and made their own new system? But some people quickly talked me down from that point. I definitely don't think we need it. What the heck? Or something truly inconceivable like giving 6th edition D&D and OGL or putting the rules in Creative Commons. So again, we've been promised that these 6th edition, aka the updated 5e rules, will be in Creative Commons. So the idea that that's being pointed out as truly inconceivable does to me point out a major blind spot. And that's really it. So I think I've already made my take on it clear. I think the community as a whole is still going to continue to grow, even if it grows slowly. I think things like the Stormlight RPG are about to draw in 25 to 50,000 new people buying their first RPG next year, because that's an immensely popular book series. If you don't know it, check out Stormlight Archives. And sure, those ones are games tied to existing major IPs, but who's to say that won't continue to happen? That's pretty much what Stranger Things just did for D&D. It just so happened to be an existing game. So yes, I think there's plenty of room for tabletop role-playing games as a whole to continue growing in the mainstream, growing the whole pie. But let me know in the comments what you think about all this. I'd love to hear it. And hey, check out one of these videos on your screen. Consider subscribing. Definitely like this video if you enjoyed this little escapade, and even consider joining Patreon to directly support what I do. I am apparently one of the last RPG YouTube channels on the platform, so man, no, but actually that is the best way to help me out if you'd like to. So thank you for your support, and keep building.